Welcome to this tutorial, Valve and Actuator Selection in HIT Portal. This example is for an air handling unit with cooling coil and reheating coil, with PICV. Here is the plant situation. In this plant, the cooling coil and reheating coil are each supplied with cold respectively warm water by their respective main pump. The main pump carries the water through the cooling coil, but in the case of the reheating coil, the pump on site ensures circulation through the reheating coil and the main pump returns the cooled water back to the generator. The control valve and the corresponding actuator for the cooling coil can very easily be selected in the Siemens HIT Portal. Click on Product Selection. Then, Valves and Actuators. Then, select Valves by application. Select Air Handling Unit. Now you arrive on the selection page for valves that are suitable for air handling units. Switch here from standard valves to PICVs. The selection has already been restricted based on the application. Click on Calculation to correctly select the control valve based on the plant data. Now, the volumetric flow that the valve must handle must be calculated. Change the unit here from liters per hour to cubic meters per hour. Click on the calculator symbol to enter the detail information. Here once again the plant schematic with the data for the cooling coil. The rated capacity of 75 kilowatts can be entered directly. Now it needs to be considered which temperature difference is applicable for the valve selection. The cooling coil shall be supplied with water of 6 degrees, and the return temperature is 12 degrees. Therefore the applicable temperature difference for the valve selection is 6 Kelvin. Click OK. The volumetric flow has been calculated at 10.75 cubic meters per hour. Click Accept. By doing so, the calculations are being finalized and the selection of applicable control valves will be further limited based on that. This select list can be further reduced. For that, select the desired or required valve parameters such as ports, connection and valve type. The selection is now limited to 10 applicable valves. We select the valve VPF 44.50F15 with linear characteristic. Now, select the appropriate actuator for this valve. Here, a select list of suitable actuators is also provided. Now the desired parameters for the actuator must be provided, such as positioning signal, 0 to 10 volt. Operating voltage, 24 volts. Positioning time, medium, that means 30 seconds. And so on. As a result, only one actuator, SAX61P03 remains, and the valve and actuator selection is completed. Note that, during operation, this actuator should be set to equal percentage behavior with the dill switch because this matches well with the heat transfer characteristic of the cooling coil. This selection can now be added to the cart. Or, if there are many valves to be selected, this selection can be added to a project. For the reheating coil, the approach is identical to the cooling coil. Here once again the plant schematic with the data for the reheating coil. For the calculation of the volumetric flow, the rated capacity and the temperature difference are needed. The rated capacity of 65 kilowatts can be entered directly. Now it needs to be considered which temperature difference is applicable for the valve selection. The reheating coil requires a supply temperature of 50 degrees. The boiler provides a supply temperature of 55 degrees. And the return temperature from the reheating coil is 35 degrees. Therefore the applicable temperature difference for the valve selection is 20 Kelvin. Click OK. Based on the volumetric flow calculation and with suitable valve parameters for the reheating coil, a list with 2 valves results. We select the valve VPP 46.32F4Q. Additionally, a suitable actuator is being selected with the same parameters as for the cooling coil. We select the actuator, SSA 161E.05HF, with its equal percentage characteristic, because this is suitable for a reheating coil. Now the control valve and the actuator for the reheating coil are selected. They can also be added to the cart or a project. In summary, here the selected valves and actuators for the cooling coil and the reheating coil. Thank you very much for your attention.